My name is Jake, and if you've ever rented a cheap place in an old American house, you'll know. But what happened to me couldn't be blamed on the age of the building or a draft. I moved to a small town in Oregon, quiet, rainy, with deserted streets at night. I found an old 2-story house where they were renting out a room on the first floor. The landlady, Mrs. Kemp, was elderly, dry as an autumn breeze, but the rent was cheap, and back then I thought I could endure anything. The first 2 nights passed quietly, but on the third, I woke to the sound of footsteps. Not the kind you hear through the walls, no. These footsteps were in my hallway, slow, uneven, as if someone was shuffling, dragging their feet across the floor. I turned on the light, and the footsteps vanished. The hallway was empty. I thought, it's just old wiring, the house making noise. American houses often have a life of their own, creaking, breathing, settling. Yeah, if only. A few days later, I came home late. Rain was pouring down in sheets, and the keys just wouldn't fit into the lock. When I finally opened the door, there was a man standing in the hallway. Tall, thin, motionless, but when I blinked, he was gone. I thought his face looked far too pale and his eyes far too dark. I decided it was just a trick of the light. Wet eyes, exhaustion, all mixed together. But that night, I barely slept. On the 4th day, I decided to speak with the landlady. "Mrs. Kemp," I said, "is there anyone else living in the house?" She lifted her eyes. "On the first floor, only you. On the second, me. The other rooms are empty." And then she added, "If you see someone, don't speak to them." She turned and walked away, as if she had said something completely ordinary. I stood there, the air in my chest turning cold, as if she hadn't even tried to reassure me. At night, it happened again. Footsteps in the hallway. Only this time, they didn't vanish when the light came on. I sat on the bed, phone in hand, staring at the half-open door. The footsteps grew louder, closer, and suddenly, a hand emerged from the darkness. First the fingers thin. The hand slowly gripped the doorframe. I couldn't move. And then it leaned forward, its face stretched, as if melted, its eyes no whites, only black voids, and its mouth far too wide. A smile, carved. The creature stood in my doorway, staring straight at me without blinking. When I finally managed to scream, it shattered, dissolved, as if pulled into its own reflection. In the morning, I packed my things and decided to leave. But as I stepped out, I noticed the basement door was ajar, though before, it had always been locked. From the basement, the cold drifted out. Not the usual damp chill, but hollow, lifeless, dead air. On the wall, an old photograph, cracked, faded, a family frozen in time, a man, a woman, and a boy. And there, among them, that face, the same warped smile, the same endless black voids for eyes. On the reverse side, a message: "He is still here." I ran from the house, never once daring to look behind me. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I wake to the sound of footsteps, slow, heavy, dragging, and I know it didn't stay in the basement. It followed me. If you ever take a room in an old house, be wary. If you see someone in the corridor, never speak. Because if you do, he might answer with his eyes.